All right, this is my first time here, which is pretty surreal because I've been watching the videos for like the last 5 years, so it's cool to finally be here. So, hello everybody, my name is Joel Cedano. I'm a senior product manager at Adigy, which is an Apple device management platform. And for the last 2 to 3 years, I've had the opportunity to work with many different types of organizations, spanning from small internal IT teams to really large MSPs that manage thousands of devices and clients. Along that journey, I've run into many different tools for securing Apple devices, and I wanted to share one specific open source repo that I think adds tons of value to the Mac admins community. You'll be able to start using this tool right away, and it'll help make your environments more secure and compliant. So just a quick show of hands, who's had a conversation internally or with your clients about security and compliance this year? All right, so that's not surprising. Most of the room raised their hand. In many cases, you need some level of compliance for cyber insurance and to pass certain audits, and this is becoming a bigger and bigger topic every year. There's an ever-increasing demand for compliance from customers and regulators alike. And for good reason. Ransomware, data breaches, and hacks are running rampant on businesses across the globe. Every company is at war with a remote, invisible enemy that could attack at any moment. And we've become more remote. We've expanded the security perimeters of our networks, and end-user devices are being used as an entry point to gain unauthorized access to valuable corporate information. And the cost of suffering a security breach is insurmountable. And there's plenty of examples. I know somebody had mentioned, have I been pwned? That's on the top left, where you could see a bunch of data breaches. You know, Twitter leaking customer data. You guys probably heard about LastPass, they got compromised. T-Mobile, $350 million settlement. That's enough to put most businesses out of business. This is a really sad story about a hospital that got caught with ransomware and people actually died. So this is, in some cases, a life or death situation. So without the right protection, companies are only one malicious keystroke away from going under. IBM reports that the average data breach globally costs about $5 million and $10 million in the US. I think we all have some personal responsibility in preventing these sort of catastrophes. And when I say we, I mean us as like Apple IT admins. We can't prevent it all, but we definitely have a part to play in this. The issue we face is that we're being pressured to ensure the security of every device in the organization. I'm sure we've all been there. No matter where it is in the world, in a highly adversarial environment. Fortunately for us, many security institutions put out guidance on how to secure your Apple devices. Unfortunately for us, the guidance comes in 100-page PDFs that we have to read through and understand, and then we have to build all the scripts and remediations for. And needless to say, this can take a very long time to implement at scale. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. With open source tools, we reduce the time spent building, enforcing, and maintaining these benchmarks by a lot. So what open source tools can we use to achieve this? There's the macOS Security Compliance Repo. This is a joint project of federal operations IT security staff from the National Institute of Standards, also known Standards and Technology, also known as NIST, NASA, the Defense Information Systems Agency, DISA, and Los Alamos National Laboratory. This project allows you to quickly generate the combination of MDM profiles and scripts required to secure your devices and become compliant with a series of different benchmarks. When you first open up this repo, and you guys could scan the QR code or go to the URL, it looks very intimidating. But if you know the right commands, you can get a lot of value out of this project pretty quickly. So what I want to do is take you through step by step on how you could use this tool to enforce CIS level 1 on a Ventura device, so a very specific use case. CIS outlines the security standard for Apple devices all over the world and is a great start for setting up compliance in your organization. So because these sessions are recorded, I hope that the recording could be used as a walkthrough for anyone in the future who's looking to secure their devices. So Matt, also thank you for recording these. Like I said, when I started my career, these recordings added tons of value and really helped me develop my skills, so happy to be contributing one to the pack. At the end of this presentation, you'll know exactly what you need to do to bring your Ventura macOS device to standard CIS level 1 compliance. And I'm purposely going to keep it as simple as possible, but know that this is only a fraction of this project's power. We'll start by just downloading the repo, generating the CIS level 1 baseline, then we'll run a scan and run some remediation, and then we'll generate the profiles required to be fully compliant. It's not going to be a live demo because we all know how that goes. So, all right, let's jump right in. The first step is to, also there's going to be a lot of these like terminal GIFs. My original plan was to try to be synced up with the GIF. That's probably not going to happen, so bear with me. All right, so the first step is to download the compliance repo on your device. We have two options of doing that. Git is the recommended path, so you could quickly Git clone this down to your device. And then you want to make sure that you switch into the Ventura branch. That last part's really important because you want to have the latest code. And they also have different branches for the different operating systems. If you're not familiar with Git, which I'm pretty sure this whole room is, you could also download the files as a .zip. Again, make sure you switch the branch before you download it. So that's how you do that. And so once we have the repo downloaded on our machines, we want to make sure that we're in the proper directory in the terminal, which is the project we downloaded. And then from here, we're going to run the generate baseline Python script, which is part of the repo. And we can run this script with two different flags. There's the -L flag, which you're seeing up there. It's going to show you a list of all the available baselines the project supports, so CIS level 1, 2, 3, the different variations of NIST, and a few other baselines. If we use the -K flag, this allows us to select a specific baseline and begin generating the required files needed to support it. So we'll run that -K variation of script, and this is going to create a CIS level 1 YAML file. And so I'll also just add the commands here on the right so you can see them. When we jump into that newly created YAML file, we can see a list of categories and the individual rules that we'll be enforcing on those devices. So this is an outline of the baseline. So we could see examples of disabling airdrop, so preventing information from going in and out of the device, making sure that file vault is enabled so that the disk is encrypted, and then managing different directory permissions, so giving people specific access to different parts of the machine, and many, many more different rules. The baseline breaks down into different categories like auditing, password policies, and then generic macOS settings. You could go in here and actually start modifying these rules, so not all of these may apply to your device. So you can actually start removing them from here, and then they won't be enforced in the later steps. I did experiment with like the highest level of NIST. It basically turns your machine into a heavy paperweight, so you probably don't want to do that. All right, so now that we have our YAML file with our baseline, we can leverage the generate guidance script to start scanning the device and running the script remediation. From here, we'll want to invoke the generate guidance Python script with the -S flag, and then pass it our YAML file that we just created. This will use that baseline file to create a new script called CIS level 1 compliance, and we can run this script to start a scan on the device and begin to enforce that benchmark. So that's what you saw up there. So in case you weren't able to see it in the previous GIF, when you run the CIS level 1 compliance script, you're presented with these options. You could view the previous scan, you could run a brand new scan, or you could begin to remediate things that are out of compliance with whatever baseline you selected. So already at this step, we're able to start scanning the device to get an idea of how compliant it is with CIS level 1, and we're also able to run some of the remediation. One of the main reasons I wanted to do this talk is because I wanted to show how easy it was to kind of get to the point where you could get a device to CIS level 1. When you start talking about this thing and you start looking at all the different rules, there's a lot of mental friction, and it feels like this is going to be something that's really challenging to do. But with these tools, it's actually really easy. You know, I've been here for 5 minutes, and we're basically almost there. So. And we're not done yet. In some cases, Apple devices, well, in most cases, Apple devices require specific profiles to be installed in order to be fully compliant. So the macOS Security Compliant project also has us covered. If we use the -P flag with the generate guidance Python script, it'll actually generate all those profiles for us. And here's what those profiles look like after they've been generated. You'll see them all as plist files. You could change that extension to a mobile config, and then you could actually deploy that through whatever MDM or install it on the device however you like. You'll see settings for enforcing software update, like different software update settings. There's some overlap, so there's also disabling airdrop. I think the main difference between enforcing things with a script and a profile is that If you do it through the script, you'll have to run another script to disable that setting, where if you push it with the profile, that setting automatically gets removed when the profile gets removed. So I think that's really the key difference there. And you also see different rules for disabling SSH and many more of those security options in the profiles. So again, I wanted to make this as simple as possible. So if anybody's watching this on YouTube later, you could scan the QR code. All the commands that I talked about are in this paste bin. And you could basically copy paste this, run it on the device, and it'll tell you how compliant you are with CIS level 1 right away. So just trying to make this as easy and simple as possible so that we could all kind of do our part in making devices more compliant. And that's really it. It's really that simple. Your device is now fully CIS level 1 compliant in just a few minutes. And as you can see, this tool makes it very easy to start monitoring and remediating for compliance in your organization. Within the same project, we could have also built out 8 different compliance baselines. We could have generated those PDFs that I showed earlier. Those PDFs are really helpful. If you're an MSP, you could print them out, show them to your client, and show them all the work you're doing, even though it's really being automated. And same thing in internal IT, like it's a good way to share information with the organization about the work that you're doing. So you could do that. You could also customize these baselines to fit the exact organizational needs of your environment. In many cases, you might not need all those rules. I believe CIS level 1 has about 56 different rules. And when you look at NIST High, it has like 156. So you probably won't need all of that in most cases. So you can really customize these baselines to fit whatever needs you have. And there's a really good section of the wiki that goes into detail there. So the best part about this project really is that it's constantly updated, and we should probably see a Sonoma branch really soon, and that's just gonna help all of us get to compliance. I wanna give a really special shout out to everybody who worked on this project: Bob, Alan, Dan, John, Jason, Blair, Joshua, Elise, Gary. These people are exemplars of the Apple community. They put in the work. Nobody's telling them to do this, and they're playing their part in helping everybody, right? Like we talk about those different catastrophes that have happened. The work that they're doing here is actually helping prevent that. So in some cases, they're probably saving lives with the work they've done on this project. So open source tools are powerful, and they make a big impact on the community. If you found this to be very technical, which I'm sure you didn't, because I've been hearing all your presentations and you guys are wizards basically. A lot of MDM vendors have implemented some variation of this into their system, so you'll likely have some sort of like one-click button to do something like this. So just check in with your MDM to see if they have that feature. I did include some honorable mentions here, which I won't go too deep into. There's the MDM watchdog. I mean, we've all experienced the software update issue. We know it's a market-wide problem. We know we're all experiencing it, no matter what you're using. MDM watchdog is a pretty good write-up on why that happens. The TLDR is that the MDM client on the device gets stuck. And so if you're able to monitor for the cases where it gets stuck, you could reset it, and then that makes your software updates work. So definitely check that out if you're running into that issue. And I'm sure every single person here has heard about like ChatGPT and the advancement in language learning models. Building bash scripts is a prediction problem, so it could be solved with a language learning model. So there's tools like pseudoai.dev that help you write bash scripts. They're not perfect. I would never get something that they provide and send it to a customer or use it on my personal machine. But a lot of times they give you a boilerplate for some of the work that you're doing, so it could be a very powerful tool. Usually if you're looking for a script, you're like on Google and you're like searching through all the forms. This kind of helps you, I don't know, at least that's what I do. I don't know if you guys do that, but this should help you reduce some of that search time. And that's it. Thank you, everybody.